Hello, 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 and welcome to the Lowdown, where we talk about everything real estate related and how it directly affects you right here in Sonoma County. Remember, you can ask me anything. Today, we're going to be answering one of your direct questions that has to do with contingent offers. It's a great question, so let's get into it. Are contingent offers a joke? Before we even jump into this question directly, let's get into kind of the meat and potatoes of what the question actually is about. What is a contingent offer? For those that don't know, a contingent offer is basically the ability to purchase another property while still keeping your current home and letting that act as somewhat of a safety net for you. So let's say that you own a house right now and you just had a kid, maybe you're on your second kid, and you want to upgrade and get a house that has a little bit more room, but you're financially not quite sure if you're able to swing it and kind of make that up by, if you will. What we can do is write an offer contingent upon your current home selling before you have to commit to buying the new home that you want to purchase. From a seller standpoint, the person that you're writing the offer to, this usually isn't the most beneficial for them, but for you, it's extremely beneficial because basically what you're saying is, I'll buy your home as long as my home that I currently have sells first. So, are contingent offers a joke? Now, that's a little bit of a hard question to just directly answer. Are they good? Are they bad? It really depends on your unique situation and what you're trying to accomplish. With that being said, in the market that we're at here in Sonoma County, we all know that it's very competitive and that it's mainly still a seller's market. While there has been a little bit of a slowdown recently, and we have seen things not selling for quite as fast and quite as much over asking as they used to, we're still seeing a little bit of an edge towards the sellers in our opinion. So with that being said, if you're a seller and you're looking at accepting a contingent offer, generally speaking, you are going to want to see a little bit of an extra value in there because you're having to deal with an aspect that possibly this deal might not go through if the buyer who is making you the offer, their house doesn't end up getting sold. Now, while this can be tough and really isn't very common in our market, especially now when it is geared a little bit more towards sellers, it definitely doesn't mean it's impossible by any means. In order to have a successful contingent purchase, what we really have to do is lay out on paper beforehand what this transaction is going to look like and then see what kind of property you're trying to purchase, because that is really going to be what makes it more realistic or less realistic depending on the type of property you are looking for. Let me give you an example. If you're looking for more of a cookie cutter tract home and maybe it's been sitting on the market for 2 or 3 months, let's say in Northwest Santa Rosa, in the Fulton kind of area where a lot of those subdivisions are, right? Those houses come on the market a lot, they get sold fairly often, and they're fairly normal kind of first-time entry-level homebuyer homes. If you're looking for something like that, a contingent offer might be a little bit easier than if you're looking for something, let's say like a fixer property in Sebastopol that's on 1/2 acre. Everybody wants those types of properties. And because everybody wants those types of properties, sellers are generally going to be less inclined to look at a contingent offer on something like that, simply because they know what they have and they know what they can get for it. And they know that realistically, they probably don't have to deal with a contingent offer in order to have a successful sale happen for their property. So basically, to sum up how realistic and easy contingent offers are, I would really put it into the perspective of it all depends on the type of property you are going to buy into, how in demand it is, how long the property has been on market, and the specific area that it's in. Those 3 things are going to have the biggest impact on how to structure and how realistic a contingent offer will be in your situation. Now, the second part of this question was if you should be using a bridge loan in order to make this process easier, more seamless, and just kind of make it a better transition for you. Now, some of you are probably even asking, what the hell's a bridge loan? Well, a bridge loan is exactly kind of like what it sounds, honestly. The name came from exactly what it does. It bridges 2 transactions. So let me give you an example. Say you have $200,000 saved up right now, but you need $250,000 in order to put down on your next house to get a better interest rate, to have 20% down, to not have mortgage insurance. For some reason, you need that extra little bit just to kind of put the cherry on top of your loan, right? So you need $50,000 that you need to make up. And maybe you have this money laying around, but you don't really want to touch it. Maybe you could ask somebody to borrow it, but you're just not really feeling comfortable doing that. There's a loan program that is basically called a bridge loan that gives you the ability to borrow equity in your current home and basically borrow it for a minute, use it to purchase the next home, and then pay it back after you sell your home. What are some of the downsides to these bridge loans? Well, there's a couple things. They're very short term because if you think about it, you're really only borrowing this money for a period of time, even weeks, sometimes months at the most, to where you're gonna take that $50,000 to put down on your new home, but then you're gonna immediately pay it back once the sale of your current home goes through. So because it is a short-term loan, lenders look at it in the sense of it being a little bit riskier because you're doing something that has to take from one property, go to another. There's a lot of moving parts, right? So these aren't really for a novice type buyer. You really have to understand what you're doing and exactly what you sign up for. The other thing that goes along with a bridge loan is that it's generally at higher interest rate than what the current going interest rate is. So that's definitely something you want to take into consideration and make sure that you're not putting yourself in a bad situation once you factor in how much more that extra interest is going to cost compared to if you borrowed the money from somebody else, or maybe just brought your purchase price down slightly to where you didn't have to have that bridge come into play in order to buy your next property. So to sum it up, in certain situations, bridge loans can be super beneficial and be exactly what you need in order to make the transaction happen for you in the most seamless, fastest, and easiest way. But with that being said, you really need to make sure that you have a good lender, you have all the options explained, and you know exactly what you're signing up for, because they can be a little bit higher risk and they do have a higher interest rate that usually goes along with them. Now, I want to give you guys one last thing before I take off. The format of this show doesn't work without your support and your questions. So I really appreciate you guys stopping by, and remember, there's no such thing as a dumb question, so ask away. If you found this video helpful or got any kind of value from it, please give it a like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, and make sure you follow us on Instagram. Well, that's gonna do it for today's episode. Hopefully we made your Monday a little less shitty. Come back around next week to get another little tidbit of information and get the lowdown of real estate here in Sonoma County. And remember, when you think of real estate, think of BW&CO.